How do you replace a 40 goals per season striker without signing a natural striker? I mean, Bayern definitely have options going forward that can score. Gnabry, Coman, Mane, and of course, Thomas Muller. A player who never wanted to pick between goals and assists, who has recently become one of the greatest playmakers in the game, but he still has an eye for the goal. What's up everyone, and for today's propaganda video, we're looking at Thomas Muller, of course, the man who has mastered space and time. On the football pitch, at least. This has almost become a series on my channel at this point. Don't know why, really. It started with Di Maria and some slander that I could not abide by, so I made a whole ass video on how good he is. Because at least the Brotherhood of the Church of Di Maria was born, and in looking at Di Maria's numbers and comparing them to others, Muller's blew me away. So here's another video on a player who is an absolute genius, but doesn't get as much shine, isn't seen like an idol outside of Germany, perhaps because of the players he has had to play setup man to for many years. I don't know, I guess I'm just going through an assists phase right now. Goals are great, but assists are doing it for me these days. Anyways, speaking of assists, actually, you know who has assisted me as a creator greatly? OneFootball, of course, the sponsors of this video. Champions League qualifiers are coming up, and did you know you can watch those live for free thanks to OneFootball? Yes, you can watch matches live right within OneFootball's free app, so you can catch qualifiers, club friendlies, Austrian Bundesliga, Norway's Eliteserien, Brazilian Cup, Extraklasse, Danish Superliga, and many other competitions. That's on top of being able to follow matches live with their match tickers, track transfers, and get all of the latest breaking news sent straight to your phone as it happens with their follow feature for the clubs and competitions that mean the most to you. So, download the OneFootball app using the link in the description, available on iOS or Android for free. Thanks guys, let's hit it. Muller made his debut for Bayern's senior side in the 2008-2009 season, but it was the following season where he really began to leave a mark. He became a trusted figure within Bayern's squad, featuring 51 times, scoring 19, and assisting 16, often playing as a second striker or starting in a wider position on either flank before drifting inside to combine with teammates. It was Louis van Gaal who showed a ton of belief in Muller during that 2009-10 season, and upon handing him a 3-year contract, Van Gaal said, quote, "Muller will always play with me." His performances that season earned him a place in Germany's World Cup squad for the tournament in South Africa in 2010, and it's safe to say that he delivered on the faith that was put in him. Under Jogi Löw, the then 21-year-old thrived, scoring 5 goals en route to Germany's 3rd-placed finish. Who knows, perhaps he could have been the difference for Germany if he hadn't been suspended for their 1-0 loss to eventual champion Spain in the semi-finals. That damn handball against Argentina. But the 5 goals he scored in the tournament meant he won the Golden Boot. He was tied with 2 others on 5 goals, but he had 3 assists to his name, which gave him the nod, and of course, he won Young Player of the Tournament as well, as Germany finished in 3rd place. At this time, Muller was just as ambidextrous output-wise. He could score and assist, though at this time, his output pushed him closer toward being a finisher rather than being known for his setup play, as opposed to the inverse being true now. What made him such an interesting player in the football world, and still does to this day, is what was feeding his success: his brain. Where some young attackers explode onto the scene thanks to their ludicrous pace or silky smooth dribbling, Muller's intelligence on the ball led to his success, while his intelligence off of the ball via the runs he makes and his overall movement, that's what sets Muller apart from the rest. Now, all of this isn't to say that Muller is some donkey that can't run and has a terrible touch. Of course, that could never be the case of anyone who has been playing at Muller's level for over a decade now. But when you compare his gangly frame and his dribbling style versus others, it's clear to see that much of his success comes from his mental sharpness and his understanding of movement and, of course, space. Muller himself coined the term Raumdeuter, which translates to space interpreter or space investigator. The man is the chief investigator of space on the football pitch, and that's a fairly appropriate way of viewing him, isn't it? I think positioning is one of the most underappreciated attributes that a football player can have. You know, we always talk about all of the attributes that contribute to a player's physicality or their ability in the finish, on the dribble, to string a through ball, all of the technical aspects of the game. Positioning, however, is something that we often associate with either strikers or center backs. They say the mark of a good defender is that they rarely have to go to ground since their positioning is always on point. The mark of a good striker is that they can go quiet for much of the game and then pop up seemingly out of nowhere to finish off an attacking move. Muller possesses that same sort of eye or penchant for positions that a top goal scorer should have. And with the goals he has scored throughout his career, it's clear that he has utilized it well, but he has also been able to use it as Muller was forced to transition to a bit of a different role for Bayern. With the arrival of Robert Lewandowski and the Pole seizing the mantle as the centerpiece of Bayern's attack, naturally, of course, I mean, that makes sense, Muller became further entrenched in his second striker role. He utilized his understanding of space to the benefit of not only himself, but his teammates. His runs in behind would draw defenders, creating space for others. His runs between players would put him in a great position to receive the ball, creating space for himself as well. His former national team coach Jogi Löw once said of Muller, quote, "Thomas is a very unorthodox player, and you can't really predict his lines of running, but he has one aim, and that is, how can I score a goal?" The goals didn't give way immediately. Muller's penchant for scoring has never really gone away, with his goals and assist numbers staying pretty close throughout the 2010s. We'll go over the numbers in more detail in the next section, of course. But his understanding of space, both in what areas to occupy, how to create it for himself, and how to create space for others, has led Muller to become the most, or at least one of the most unique attackers in modern football. His genius isn't as apparent as other top players because there isn't a physical or technical skill attached to it. There's no trademark like other top players have. His genius is in how his brain understands the game, interprets attacking moves, and how that benefits not only himself, but his teammates as well. And while he can score goals at a relatively frequent rate, he's now casually brushing shoulders with some of the top playmakers in the game. With that said, Muller himself has pointed out a flaw of his. While he is of course capable of running through a play from the beginning to the end, that's definitely not his strong suit, and he also needs support from his teammates in order to be completely successful. How? Well, back when Muller was struggling under Niko Kovac, along with most of Bayern by the way, Muller spoke about how he couldn't understand what was wrong exactly. He was making runs in order to help his teammates, trying to make runs to make himself available, but nothing was coming of it. As Muller said, quote, "I cannot make the most of my strengths when the team is not at its best and does not play the sort of football it can play. So I did not feel well on the pitch in our last two games. I am very much reliant on my teammates when you look at my style of play and the goals I have scored in the past. I am not the type of player who creates his own chances, someone who picks up the ball in midfield and then dribbles past 5 players. It's one thing to make all of these runs and to find all of the space, but if your teammates aren't finding you with their passing, what's the point?" So he's completely aware of how he functions within a system, how the team has to play for each other, and that's led to him, as I said earlier, being among some of the best playmakers of this generation of football, despite not typically being viewed as such. And that kind of makes me think, how do I view Muller in my head? I guess just as a forward in the most general sense possible. But anyway, one thing that is important to point out is how his assist numbers have increased so much in the last few years. It leads to a sort of chicken and the egg type of philosophical question. Did Muller increase his assist output because Lewandowski was finishing more chances off? Or did Lewandowski start scoring more thanks to an increase in the quality of passes he was receiving from his teammates, namely Thomas Muller? I think both of them are true, as both players grew and matured into the elite talents that they are now. But this is a video about Thomas Muller, right? If you've been watching my videos recently, then you'll remember the comparisons I did between Di Maria, Messi, Muller, and Kevin De Bruyne when it comes to assists, and perhaps you'll remember just how stunningly high Muller's numbers were. When looking from the 2010-11 season onward and comparing all of the numbers, Thomas Muller was behind only Messi when it comes to the total assists, with 227 to Messi's 262. He also keeps company with Lionel Messi when it comes to assists in league play. Muller, Messi, and Kevin De Bruyne are the only players since Thierry Henry in the 2002-2003 season to have achieved getting 20 plus assists in the league alone. Muller first did it in the 2019-20 season alongside both Messi and De Bruyne, but only Muller has been able to replicate that form, hitting 21 assists in the Bundesliga alone for 3 consecutive seasons. Ridiculous really, as those 21 assists have come from 33 appearances in the 19-20 season and 32 in the subsequent seasons. With the Bundesliga boasting just 34 matches per season, that's pretty impressive. And when you go back over the last 3 years, it's clear that Muller has taken a massive step. In total, since the 2019-20 season, across all competitions, Muller has contributed with 75 assists across all competitions, an average of 25 assists per season. The only players to come close to him are Messi, De Bruyne, and Kylian Mbappe, a new player added to the assist meta by me. While Muller sits on 75, he is still 20 clear of both De Bruyne and Mbappe on 55 assists, while Messi is on 52. That's incredible. And guys, do keep an eye on Mbappe. I know that sounds stupid to say when it comes to one of the best attackers on the planet currently, but his assist numbers in particular are what I'm talking about here. He's been racking them up, and it just proves how he is evolving as a player still. Anyway, while Muller's assist numbers are elite, perhaps looking at his total goal contributions year upon year really paints the whole picture for Muller. Since his breakout 2009-10 season at Bayern, he has had just 2 seasons where he has failed to contribute to 30 or more goals. In fact, he has contributed to 35 or more goals in 9 out of 13 seasons we've looked at, and has contributed to 40 or more goals in 4 separate seasons. That's a player you absolutely want in your squad, and of course, those numbers don't tell all. Given his presence on the pitch, his movement and how that opens space for others, his vision, etc., it's no wonder as to how Muller is in the 99th percentile when it comes to goal-creating actions per 90. That means he's in the top 1% compared to all players of a similar position to him in the top 5 leagues. And with Lewandowski, the former focal point of the attack, having left the club, it does pose an interesting question of whether Muller will evolve yet again. Will he now be the one on the end of the attacking moves to provide the finish, utilizing his understanding of space on the pitch to outfox defenders and arrive in unexpected areas for the finish? Will he continue on as the setup man, as one of Mane, Coman, Gnabry, or Sané take on the mantle of Bayern's new elite finisher? Or will he continue on to just be a jack of all trades, filling in wherever he is needed in goal contribution wise, as he has done in recent history? In my opinion, I would expect a slight uptick in his goal output, but with Nagelsmann wanting to play with a more fluid front line, where there isn't a single focal point of the attack and everyone contributes both in assists and goals, you can expect that Muller will continue to thrive. In fact, this attack could be tailor-made to his strengths, and isn't it worth building around one of the greatest minds in modern football? I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and if you did, do me a favor and subscribe if you're new. Apologies for the slow content rollout lately. I had my parents visiting from Montreal for the first time in 5 years. Then I got COVID. It's frustrating, but we're here now, and barring any other surprises, should be here for a while. I'm Adrian. I appreciate you watching this video, and do take care. Ciao.